All right, everybody, welcome to another video. You might notice I've got a new camera, so we should be having better looking content for you guys. Just doing a little investing in, our work and try to get things just a little bit more, uh, more structured for you guys. This video is going to be about the concept of why going all in matters. Like, why do you have to do it? Because to be completely honest, you can't manifest a lot of the quote unquote bigger things you want in life if you don't go all in. So, I think it's very important, very, 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 very important that we do this, right? And so I'm going to be going over a few points as to why it's important to do this. But yeah, today's video all about going all in, what that means, and how you even do it, and then I'm also going to talk about just what that even looks like and what plays into going all in the first place. But yeah, just to let you guys know, I do have coaching available. It is on my channel somewhere, might be in my bio, might be somewhere on the channel card. I'm not exactly sure where, but it is there. If you guys want it, I have it. So moving on, right? First, let's talk about why going all in even matters in the first place. Like, why should you be even doing this, right? First, manifestation doesn't respond to what you're interested in, right? It manifests and it responds to the commitment you have towards yourself, to an identity, right? If you're half trusting in something, you will not be able to see like the full commitment of your end. You won't be able to see the full reflection of whatever it is that you want, right? And I'm not saying fully trusting as in you can't have any doubts or any fears at all, but when you're looking at things or you're looking for things outside of you to kind of um, calm you down or to build that trust that doesn't really come through self, you're not going to get the full results of what you want, right? And this is why you might be seeing movement and then the movement stops and then you don't get to see the full fulfillment of what it is that you want. Or you might actually get what you want, but it doesn't end up staying in your life, right? There's many reasons as to why this happens, and I'll be getting into those in the video, but they all boil down to identity, okay? So you have to understand also that going all in is not some reckless thing that it might sound, right? You might hear in regular society people who put all their eggs in one basket. It's risky, it's a risky move. You don't know where that's going to lead, you don't know where it's headed, right? But when it comes to manifestation, it is your only choice. You have no other option, right? Um, this is your self alignment at risk, right? It's you and what deserves to be yours, right? And if you cannot commit to what deserves to be yours, then how can it ever find you, right? So these are some small things that I want to talk about, but it's also really important that you don't go all in when you have everything to lose. Like when everything is already at its worst, that shouldn't be when you're going all in, right? Because why would you do that? Why wait till when things get to their very worst to start to actually manifest what it is that you want, right? Um, and I can't blame you guys if you've done that, right? When there is something on the line, things tend to work out a little bit more, it kind of forces you to trust yourself. But that shouldn't be how you go about it. And I'm saying this from my own personal experience, right? Don't do that. Don't do that to yourselves. Don't wait till things in 3D get to their worst and then you're kind of left with no choice but to go all in, right? You have no other option because, well, you just couldn't go in before. So now, now you've got no choice but to go all in, right? We don't want to do that, right? Because what that does is you're waiting for the delay to get to the worst. You're waiting for your suffering to reach its like worst. And then you're like, you know what? Okay, now let me make the decision to go all in. We don't want to do that, right? And so let me first address the whole trap of waiting until things get to the worst to start doing things, right? A lot of the times you're going to realize that people, and you might have already noticed this within yourself, right? You probably have if you're watching this video. People only really start to trust themselves when they're out of options, when there are no cards left to play, there's no other options for them, you are feeling exhausted, you're waking up every day and it fucking sucks, like you've got nothing, right? Your nervous system is fucking shit, right? You're emotionally fucked, right? And I'm saying all this because I've been there, right? What this does, it translates your nervous system into thinking that safety can only, or you can only really trust yourself and trust that everything's working when you've got everything to lose, right? This isn't what we want to do. We don't want to grow our belief in self when there's crisis in front of us. We don't want for things to be at a breaking point in order to mend, right? That isn't how life works. But society will condition you. It will make you believe that you have to do these things, right? You know, society conditions you to think that life is hard, that to attain the things you want, it'll be difficult, that things have to be rough in order for you to get what you want, when that was never the case. Things don't have to be that way. But again, that's its own situation. You know, that is your belief that things have to be difficult in order for you to get what you want, in order to succeed or whatever it is. But that's not true. You don't have to do that. So get that fucking idea out of your mind, right? If it's in there, you don't have to do that. But you have to understand, right, that manifestation works best when you are trusting, right? Because trust is a choice, right? But you have to understand manifestation works best when you trust in yourself, okay? Not when the 3D forces your hand, right? Again, I've reinstated this, but I really want you guys to understand how important it is that you don't wait for things to get their worst until you start to do things, right? And until you start to trust yourself. I know it's a very common thing you'll see in the manifestation community. That's how most people get there. But I am telling you guys to not do this from experience, because it's not worth it. When you can choose to pick something better, why in the world would you allow yourself to see something worse? Like, why would you wait till things get to the worst and then, right? And then decide that things can be good, and then place your trust that you're with your person, or that you have whatever it is that you want, right? Don't wait till things are at their very worst. You know, it doesn't do anything for you. And another thing, I think this is something that's a little more nuanced, that people like to dance around, that don't really want to talk about it, but I definitely think this is something that we have to address without a doubt, okay? And I'm saying this as a content creator, right? You might be like, well, why would you even address this if you're making content? Doesn't this kind of defeat the purpose of what you do, right? But bear with me, okay? And this goes to why watching content doesn't actually mean you're building trust, right? When you're watching manifestation content, it feels productive, but it's really not. It's a very passive thing, right? It keeps the authority of what is possible outside of you. When you have to make a decision internally, you're going to start seeking the 3D. So content is a 3D thing, right? You're watching this video in the 3D. You're experiencing it in the 3D, right? So you are going to look for 3D things to validate your experience, your internal experience, right? But why in the world would you look at something external to validate your inner world, right? That's doesn't make sense, right? But like I was saying, it keeps your power away from you. You're borrowing certain things. You're borrowing certainty instead of actually creating it within yourself. And what does that even mean, right? Let's dig into that, right? So you're borrowing certainty instead of believing it, right? Let's replace the word certainty with faith. Now, you must understand, first and foremost, manifestation is a faith-based ideal, right? You need to have faith in self for anything to work, right? Your self-concept, your belief in self, belief in what is true for you, what is possible for you, for what you have, has to be matching whatever it is that you desire, right? Or else you don't have it, right? So when you are feeling uncertainty, when you're feeling rushed, or if you're feeling anxious, worried, sad, doubtful, and your first instinct is, let me go watch a video to ease this pain. What is that doing? You're still dancing around the issue. You're still running away from what needs to be addressed. And when I say addressed, I'm not saying something that needs to be fixed, but something you need to make a decision on, right? If you're feeling something, if a thought is coming up, if a reoccurring doubt is coming up, you need to make a decision. Is this real or not? Ideally, it's not, right? But you need to make that decision and trust it for yourself. Don't wait for the 3D to make that decision for you. Don't let a coach make that decision for you, because you will never be able to decide for yourself. You will lose that critical thinking skill, which is so important. We're already losing that with this addiction to social media, right? But we don't want to fully lose that even when it comes to manifestation, right? So when you feel unsure, right? That isn't faith. Now you're relying. It's an addiction, right? You're addicted to the content. You're using it as reliance for faith. It's a pseudo faith. You're not really relying on anything. So don't build your trust by observed confidence on what someone else is telling you. Let your own confidence be your faith, right? You build by acting, right? And I'm not saying you take action in the 3D to build that faith. It's you constantly deciding internally what is true for you, what is right, okay? When you do that without any guarantees, right? The guarantee is internal. It isn't external. You're not looking for a guarantee in the 3D. It is your knowing that it is inevitable, but you don't have to wait for that or look for that in the 3D for shit to work, right? But yeah. So kind of moving on from that a little bit, still a similar plot point. Why is looking for answers something that blocks your self-trust, right? If you're always searching, and I can speak for myself, I was like this. Anytime I had a question about SP or anything else I was trying to manifest in my life, I would constantly go and look out for answers because I didn't know if I was doing shit right. I didn't have the self-worth. I didn't have the self-identity of trust yet. I couldn't trust myself. And so that led to a lot of hot and cold. It led to a lot of reflections I'd rather not see that I didn't really want to experience, but albeit I had to because, you know, I wasn't making a decision. And so if you're always looking for answers, the assumption that you're mentally running with is that you don't know how manifestation works. You don't know how reality works. And when you don't know, what does that mean? You're lost. And what gets reflected into the 3D? Lost. You being lost. You seeing things as bleak, right? Things not making sense to you, right? Something cannot make sense to you, but you have the awareness to just decide that it does. And then it will. And then it will. You don't have to figure out how. It literally does you nothing to try to figure out how something's going to work out. You just trust that it will. That is all you ever have to do. You don't have to do anything more, right? So, you know, let's see. When you are thinking to yourself, right? What should I do? What should I do, right? What this reinforces within you is that someone else can make a decision for me better than I can. And if you can't make a decision, I know I already kind of talked about this, but if you can't make a decision for yourself, then you're never going to have anything consistent in your life, right? If you can't trust your own intuition, if you can't strengthen that, and it's constantly being overridden by external confidence, like confidence through other people that isn't even yours, it's not real confidence, right? Confidence isn't being able to do whatever you want in the 3D and not give a shit about it. It's being able to stick to your decision and not giving a fuck about what is being reflected to you in the 3D right now. Everything you're seeing outside, old shit. So it doesn't matter. But what you are constantly choosing has to be reflected back, even if you can't see it yet, right? So self-trust, it is built on the silence, the uncertainty, but it's the decision that you make that builds that self-trust, right? You don't learn trust by being correct. You learn by standing on business for yourself. You learn to trust yourself when you stand up to the choice you made, right? If it seems bad, you make the decision to say it's good. If it seems good, you're deciding it's good, right? So learn to trust in yourself, right? A lot of people, okay, this next point, I used to find myself doing a lot, right? This illusion of needing to understand more, as if you don't already know, right? People will always tell you manifestation is so simple. But when you think about it, when you're trying to understand your own mind, you trying to understand your own mind is a very complex thing, right? So people end up having this belief that once I fully understand how to manifest, then I will be able to do it. Then I can apply it. So let me just keep watching content until I finally get it, and then I can start manifesting. But what does that reinforce? Let's break that down, right? If you are saying when I fully understand something, that means that right now you don't know what the fuck to do. Right now, you don't understand shit. So what does that mean? That means you don't have it, right? If you're waiting for a future event to apply something, that means you don't have it right now, okay? But understanding comes after embodiment. Once you say you know enough, then you know enough, right? Once you say you know enough, shit will click to you in your mind, or you might come across something that just makes sense all of a sudden. It doesn't really matter how that understanding gets to you in the 3D, but you have to claim that you have enough, right? Manifestation is not like a theory to master. It is a decision. It is an identity that you are inhabiting all the time, right? So you got to make sure that you understand yourself, or else how can the reality show you your own understanding? If you don't understand yourself, how can reality show you the understanding that you have of whatever it is that you want, right? If you're unsure if you have your SP, how the fuck can reality, like with certainty, show you that you have it? It can't, right? You don't make a decision once you have all the details, once you're clear on every aspect, once you have all the clarity. The clarity comes after you make a decision. Again, you make the decision first internally, then it is seen on in the 3D, right? Everything on earth will be seen as it is in heaven. Heaven is in your inner world. You make the decision there first, and then it's reflected back to you in on earth, right? In this 3D world. But you have to learn to stay by that choice. The clarity will come, but you already have it, right? You already have it. And I always mention this in my videos constantly, right? You are the decider. But how many people actually understand what that means, right? You can't fully understand what that means if you aren't fully knowing that you're the decider. Now, how do you do that? If you're outsourcing every single decision to something in the 3D, or like a YouTube video or a coach or a Reddit feed or comment sections on TikTok or YouTube, if every decision you're making is based off what other people tell you, then you aren't the one deciding shit, right? You aren't deciding anything then. Everybody's deciding for you, and then you're sticking with their decision, right? If content is telling you something like, you need to feel this way, or you need to act this way, you need to think a certain way, right? That you have to wait for this right timing, then you're not deciding shit, right? Then what you're essentially doing is you're being the follower. You're not being the creator that you are. You're the operant power. Understand that. You are the operant power. You've got the power to change the world, right? You don't wait for other people to decide to change the world for then you to do it. You have everything available to you just by making a decision. You can't wait for someone to make that decision for you. You just cannot. Being the operant power, what does that even mean? That means that you're choosing to make a decision without permission from anything outside of you, right? Moving without being fully conscious of what is happening outside of you. Movement happens internal, right? When you decide, right? You're making a choice without letting somebody decide it for you, or waiting for permission from something in the 3D to validate an experience you just had internally. Reality will shift, but only after you've claimed the authority over it, right? And this kind of goes on to my next point. A few more points. I know this video is getting long. It's probably one of my longer videos that isn't in a podcast episode, but I want to kind of ease back on those and just work on the smaller videos, right? And this is going to be about detachment. And you can only do that, you can only detach when you go all in. Understand, detachment is the result. It is not a technique, right? I don't know how many times I would see on TikTok, even when I was first learning all this, that, you know, the best and the fastest way to manifest anything is to detach. Excuse me. You can't make detachment a technique. That isn't how it works, right? You can't force it. The more you try to force yourself to not want something, you just end up wanting it more. Think about whatever it is that you want. You tell yourself you don't want it that bad, or you try to do so many things to care about it less. That only feeds it more. But you can't force detachment, right? You got to trust yourself to handle any outcome, right? Learn to do that, because you can only do that once you start making decisions for yourself, right? Attachment is just a fear of self-abandonment, right? It's the fear of an unknown outcome, but you already decide the outcome, right? You don't have to worry about how it plays out, but you know the outcome, right? You know it's inevitable. So what is there to care? And these are just empty words until you actually go all in. You stop caring if you know everything is inevitable, right? An example I can give to you is if you're reading a book, right? Books have a limited amount of pages. You don't care how long it takes for you to finish the book. You know you're going to finish the book. You're not stressing about how quickly you have to finish it, right? You just know you're going to finish it anyway, eventually, right? You don't care for the time. You're enjoying the book for what it is, right? Enjoy your 3D experience for what it is. Be content with it, and then eventually you'll get to your end, right? The end will materialize. But if you're clinging onto it so desperately all the time, you're constantly looking for it outside of you, then how can you ever just detach? And when you're detached, you end up being far more relaxed. You don't wait for everything, right? And the thing is, when you learn to trust yourself, right, your outcomes lose their emotional charge. You stop reacting to every thought, to every emotion, to every little detail of the 3D, right? You stop giving a fuck about that shit. You stop micromanaging. I'm going to make a video on micromanaging because it's very important that I do that because I used to do that, but that's another video, right? But like I was saying, your desire stops feeling like this weight that you're carrying that you just, how do I get it? When am I going to get it? I need this, right? It stops feeling like a weight and more just like, I know I have it. I'm not worried about when I'm going to get it. It's already mine. You don't care so much, right? And again, detachment has this misconception of you not caring anymore. That isn't it. It's knowing that you're good with or without it. What does that even mean? With or without. You're good knowing that if it's in front of you, you're happy. If it's not in front of you, you're still good. The inevitability, right? You know it's going to happen. You know it's already yours. So why do I care if it's in front of me or not? That is real detachment, true detachment. It's acceptance, right? And so what does going all in even look like? It means you make decisions without looking for reassurance constantly, right? Allowing there to be uncertainty, but not acting on it, not panicking from it, right? It's just knowing that regardless of if something feels uncertain, it's knowing eventually, somehow, some way, shape, or form, it's going to work out anyway, that everything will play out because I know my end. You stop being so panicked. So you can have that a little bit of uncertainty, but it doesn't become a full-blown panic, right? And also choosing your inner knowing over all the bullshit that's in the 3D. You know how easy it is to get caught up in the bullshit? It is so easy to get caught up in all of the bullshit of the world. But it is your inner knowing that you can always return to. The one state that you can always return to no matter how your 3D is looking, right? And so, it's really just letting reality respond instead of you having to micromanage every little detail about it, right? It's not you cherry picking every small thing and then 3D has to fucking, shift in all these weird ways in order to fucking get these little nitpicks right. No, just let shit fucking happen. Enjoy the 3D moment for what it is and let shit unfold, right? It's also being able to accept and take responsibility for your inner state completely, right? You're not relying on the 3D. You're not blaming the 3D for what's happening, but you're able to understand that all of that was coming from an identity. It was coming from an inner state. And now knowing that, you can take the acceptability, you can be responsible for it, and then just be okay. And just be like, well, that was then, this is now, right? And so to kind of end all this, I really just want to say that manifestation doesn't start when your life is on the line, when whatever you want is on the line, when you've got everything to lose. It starts the second you make a decision. It's not when you're waiting for it. Everything starts unfolding the second you make a decision, right? It's not when you're looking for certainty outside of you. It's when you decide you're certain, regardless of what's being shown to you in the 3D or what emotions or thoughts are coming up in your mind. You stay in your certainty, right? It's not practicing something, right? It's not practicing a belief. It's living your life, being content, right? It's building the trust that you can only get if you trust yourself, right? It sounds a little counterintuitive, but you can only build trust when you start to trust yourself, you know? And, just to end off the video, I wanted to talk about something my professor said once, right? My philosophy professor, very wise guy. He said, anybody can teach philosophy. It's just a matter of learning the knowledge. But to be a philosopher is something else. To be a philosopher, it requires you to take that identity, to act, to ask questions, to ponder. It finds its way to you. You don't just choose to be a philosopher. It is inevitability for someone, right? You don't just become that. You chose that and now it has to meet you, right? So let that be something that sinks in, right? Are you going to be somebody who like teaches the philosophy, or are you going to be the philosopher? Are you going to know about manifesting, or are you actually going to be the manifester, right? So I just want to end the video off with that, right? Think about that. What side do you end up on? And with that question, I'm going to end the video here because it's been almost half an hour, very long video, but I hope you guys got something out of it. And I'm really glad if you guys watched it. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you did. And I'll see you guys in the next one.